Yeah, no,
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? I've been having issues of connection since yesterday. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I can see Adako and Mason. I can see all of you. Nana is joining the panel. Go. Please. Mesama, please, can you go ahead? Nana is disturbing. I don't have money to pay the nanny to stay with her today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, welcome to another session our panel on topics that marriage and the that after marriage got to an end since the 21st century. So we started yesterday where I don't know some people that I think this is because the one of our presenters talked about the identity and how to marry the young ladies and getting married to them and all that. We talked about documentary and how it is and several other. We had like four presenters today, and today we continue with that. My name is Make Joy. Organizing the panel with Dr. Rose and she's online. Because they introduce themselves and
I'm a little I'm independent scholar. My name is Shemela. Thank you.
when we start saying that institution as a way of our identity as maybe I think amongst us like our marriage system, our faith system, education and cultures and how it has formed our identity as shaped us. Like one of the presenters did yesterday where she talked about the dating marriage and all that. Like it's very insightful because it made me remember that oh, I think I've heard something like that in my own face. She's Yoruba, but it's really like what I have in my own life and we get to know about things and get to know the and also related to the 21st century and so the first presenter on our list is the Rebecca from the best of people, those and the scholar for the first now thank you.
Okay, thank you. Going to the different aspects of bright lives in different regions in Africa. And then, well, I will come into a section where it is uncomfortable for men, which is how bright life affects women and all that. So let me go into it right now. So I'll first define bride price. Bride price, also known as bride wealth, is a traditional cultural practice in many African societies where the groom or his family provides gifts, money, livestock, or other valuables to the family of the bride as a prerequisite for marriage. This practice is deeply rooted in cultural beliefs, social norms, and traditions, and it serves as a symbol of respect, appreciation, and commitment between the two families involved in the marriage process. Bride price plays a significant role in traditional African marriages by facilitating social alliances, strengthening family ties, and establishing the legitimacy of the marriage. It is often viewed as a form of compensation to the bride's family for the loss of their daughter's labor, reproductive capabilities, and contributions to the household. Additionally, bride price can enhance the social status of both the bride and the groom within their communities and demonstrate the groom's ability to provide for his future wife and family. While bride price is considered a cultural norm in many African societies, it has also been a subject of debate and criticism due to its potential negative implications for gender equality, women's rights, and the commodification of women. Some argue that the practice can reinforce patriarchal values, perpetuate gender inequalities, and lead to instances of exploitation and abuse. Now, I'll look at the significance and roles of bride price in traditional African societies, which are deeply rooted in cultural beliefs, as I've said before. Some of them, these are some of the key aspects to consider. The symbol of respect and appreciation. Bride price serves as a symbol of respect and appreciation from the groom and his family to the bride's family. It signifies the recognition of the bride's value, her worth, and contribution to her family and community. It strengthens social bonds. It plays a crucial role in strengthening social bonds between families and communities. It fosters alliances, builds trust, and enhances cooperation between the families involved in the marriage process. Or economic exchange. The bride price often involves the transfer of gifts, money, livestock, or other valuable items from the groom's family to the bride's family. This economic exchange helps redistribute wealth, resources, and assets within the community and ensures the financial stability of both families. Then legitimizing the marriage. In many African societies, the payment of bride price is a necessary step to legitimize the marriage and confer social recognition on the union. It establishes the groom's commitment to the bride and her family and signifies his readiness to take on the responsibilities of marriage. For status and prestige, the payment of bride price can enhance the social status and prestige of the families involved in the marriage. It can elevate the reputation of the groom as a responsible and capable husband and provider, while also affirming the bride's value and worth within her community. Also for cultural preservation. Bride price is a cultural tradition that has been passed down through generations in many African societies. It serves as a way to preserve cultural heritage, maintain social condition, and uphold traditional values and practices. Now, I want to highlight the evolution of the bride price over time and its cultural implications. The evolution of bride price in traditional African societies has been influenced by historical, cultural, and socio-economic factors, leading to changes in its practice and cultural implications over time. Here are some key points. In the historical context, bride price has been a long-standing tradition in many African societies, with its roots dating back to ancient times. Initially, bride price served as a way to establish alliances, maintain social order, and ensure the continuity of family lineage and inheritance. Then changes in socio-economic systems. With the advent of colonialism, urbanization, and modernization, the practice of bride price has undergone significant changes. Shifts in socio-economic systems, such as the transition from the agricultural economy to cash-based economies, have influenced the nature and form of bride price payments. For commodification and monetization, one significant evolution of bride price is the increasing monetization and commodification of the practice. In many contemporary African societies, bride price has become more commercialized with the emphasis placed on the monetary value of goods and goods exchange. Gender dynamics. The evolution of bride price has also been shaped by changing gender dynamics and women's rights movements. Critics argue that this practice can perpetuate gender inequalities, commodify women, and reinforce patriarchal norms within society. The legal and policy reforms. In response to concerns about gender equality and women's rights, some African countries have implemented legal reforms to regulate or abolish bride price practices. These reforms aim to protect women from exploitation, abuse, and discrimination related to bride price transactions. Cultural revival and adaptation. Despite the changes and criticism surrounding bride price, the practice continues to hold cultural significance in many African countries. In many African countries, some groups have sought to revive and adapt traditional bride price customs as a way to preserve cultural heritage and promote social cohesion. Then interplay with modern marital practices. The evolution of bride price intersects with modern marital practices, such as law marriages and religious unions. This interplay has led to variations in how bride price is negotiated, paid, and festive within diverse African societies. Now, I want to look at the cultural diversity of bride price customs across the different African regions. West Africa, in Nigeria, the bride practices the form of bride price would involve presenting such as only goods and services. In that, exchange items such as collaterals, money, and in East Africa, on the Maasai of Kenya and Tanzania, bride prices pay in livestock such as cattle, goats, and sheep. The number of livestock given and bride price signifies the groom's wealth and status. In of marriage by adoption exists in some regions where the groom kidnaps the bride with the consent of her family and then negotiates the bride price with her family. In Southern Africa, in Zimbabwe, bride price is known as rural and typically involves the groom's family paying cattle money or other goods to the bride family. Not among these two people of South Africa, the bride price custom, known as Lobola, involves negotiation between the families regarding the number of cattle or monetary value to be paid. In Central Africa and Cameroon, bride price custom vary among different ethnic groups. Some may involve the exchange of livestock, while others may require the to perform certain tasks or provide gifts to bride price family. In DRC, bride price customs also differ among ethnic groups, with some communities requiring the groom to pay a bride price in the form of money, goods, or services. And in North Africa, by some regions, symbolic gifts of money is still exchanged. These examples highlight the nature of how diversity of bride price customs across African regions. So I'm going to talk about the social economic implications of bride price on families. There's the redistribution of wealth. Bride price, like I said before, often involves the transfer of gifts on lifestyle that valuable essence on the groom to the family, and this exchange of distribution, economic security. The payment of bride price can contribute to the economic security of the bride's family by providing them with additional resources, assets, or livestock. So, social status and prestige. The payment of bride price can enhance the social status and prestige of both the bride and groom within their communities. A higher bride price may signify the groom's wealth, social standing, and ability to provide for his future wife and family. Interfamily relationships, bride price also plays a significant role in fostering positive relationships between families and kinship groups. So I want to examine the impact of bride price on gender roles, women's status, and the relationship with traditional African societies. For gender roles, bride price reinforces traditional gender roles by framing women as commodities to be exchanged between families. Women are often valued based on the bride price paid for them, perpetuating the idea that their worth is tied to their economic value within the marriage market. Then the payment of bride price for women's status, the payment of bride price can influence women's status within their families and communities. We have some families in some areas I don't want to mention, where according to how the level of education of the girl, the bride price increases. The family themselves will tell the man coming that, don't you know this one is a master's degree holder or a PhD holder, so the bride price increases. The payment of bride price can influence women's status within their families and communities. Economic dependence. Bride price can contribute to women's economic dependence on men and their families. The exchange of gifts, money, or livestock as part of the bride price transaction may symbolize a woman's transition from her own family to her husband's family, where she may rely on her husband for financial support and security. Then for power dynamics, the practice of bride price can reinforce power imbalances between men and women within traditional African societies. Men who pay bride price may perceive themselves as having ownership and control over their wives, leading to unequal power dynamics in marital relationships. And this most times abuse could come in. And family relationships, bride price plays a role in shaping family relationships and kinship ties within traditional African societies. The exchange of gifts and valuables during the bride price ceremony strengthens social bonds between families, but it can also create expectations and obligations that impact the dynamics of relationships within and between families, like inheritance and property rights. The payment of bride price may have implications. Women's inheritance and property rights in some cases. Women's access to land, resources, and inheritance may be contingent upon the payment of bride price, affecting economic security and autonomy. Extending equality. The fact of bride price can potentially to gender equality and women's rights in traditional societies. They contribute to the commodification of women, restrict women's agency and autonomy. Now, I want to look at surrounding bride price, including the effects of gender. The commodification of women, criticizing that bride price treats women as to be sold, financial burden. In many societies where bride price is practiced, payment is often substantial and can place a significant financial burden on the groom's family. This can lead to economic exploitation, debt, and poverty, particularly in communities where bride price is expected to be exorbitant. Impact on women's autonomy. The payment of bride price can limit a woman's autonomy and agency if they can be marriage. In some cases, women may be treated as possessions of their husbands or in-laws with limited say in important decisions that affect their lives, violence and abuse. In some instances, the pressure to pay high bride price can lead to domestic violence, abuse, and even abandonment if the two families are divided and mental need. The reinforcement of gender inequality, bride price can reinforce existing gender inequality, legal and policy implications. Some countries have actually taken steps or abolish practice of bride price in order to promote gender equality and protect women's rights. However, enforcement can be challenged due to cultural norms. By guidelines of the payment of bride price. So in Kenya, the payment of bride price has been criticized for perpetuating gender inequality and undermining women's rights. The Marriage Act of 2014 introduced provisions aimed at regulating bride price payments and ensuring that they are not excessive or exploitative. In South Africa, there has been a complex framework that addresses issues related to customary marriages, including the payment of the bride price. The Recognition of Customary Marriages Act of 1998 recognizes customary marriages and provides guidelines for their registration and regulation. In Nigeria, the payment of bride price is a common tradition in many ethnic groups. The country's legal system recognizes customary marriages and provides some legal protection for women in marriage. Okay, in the cabinet, those strategies just done. We
As so many steps to it, and I have to send it after the section. Like, okay, let us move on to the different. You can take comment and something.
Thank you. Organization of state policy openly and openly domestic violence in traditional society. Ego in Igbo means money. Still openly in Igbo means severe beating. So empathy can be said to be a system that was and is still used to protect violence marriages. Can be said to be brothers from the same mother or the same father. But in this case, we're talking about brothers from the same family. Brothers, that is, if you're a man, if you're a girl, if you are a boy, from the same family. That's what it is. So, really basic powerful that you some people between if a woman they are more subdue
your husband, you start beating him. So you just want to showcase your strength, like to showcase that you are in control. So for you to showcase that control, you use it through domestic violence. It goes beyond abuse. It goes beyond beating the person. We sort of emotional abuse. All these things are part of domestic violence. For another against society. It has a lot of protecting women also, like protecting their sisters. And not protecting just their brothers, protecting their sisters like from their side. So Egon Sobeli was used to checkmate domestic violence or beating. So how is this done? Before you, during bride price, like my sister said, when you are paying the bride price of your wife, the last thing to be done is you paying for this beating. Like if they tell you that you pay for transportation, that any day you beat their sister, that money that you paid them, they will use it and come and beat you. So even if you are paying them 1,000 naira and they are coming like with their whole brothers or the whole family, that 1,000 naira will be enough for them to come. If you beat their sister the first time, they will come in mass and beat you up. If you beat their sister the second time, that 1,000 naira you pay that they will still serve for them to come back and beat your sister and beat you up again. Even if the beating continues, they will keep coming back to beat you. And they don't just come and beat you. And they don't just come to beat you, they beat you and they disgrace you. And then if the beating leads to death, that means you've entered one chance, like you've entered the wahala. So you don't just play with their sisters. So the money, the ego to really is like you are giving them consent to say, please, anytime you hear that I've beaten your sister or that I dealt with your sister in any way, please come to my house and do anything with me. So even if after beating, when the village beats the man, if the man goes to the police to call them to come and arrest anybody, they go to customary court because it is part of their custom, like their tradition. It is registered that you don't beat their sisters. It's even till now, it's being practiced in Uri. Then we ask, and a part of that of Umune. Umune is like in every part of Igbo land. They show sibling love. You don't come and beat any of someone that is from my family, and then you go scot free. Something happened when we were growing up. We went for Christmas, and then one of our aunties, I don't know how it happened, but she went to the stream, and then she's married. She had issues with her brother-in-law, and they beat her up in the stream. I don't know how the news got to our place. They went to that place, they brought the man back. And I was asking, if we have this type of laws, then why are we hearing of domestic violence? If you go to the social media, we keep hearing of domestic violence. Every time you see someone killed the other person, a spouse killed this person, a spouse did this. When the king of Uri made the statement that was during the death of one Osinachi Ekweme, this lady that sang on Ekweme is a Christian musician. The man said that you don't beat women Because if you beat a woman, that woman is supposed to bless you. He's a traditional ruler. And you see that the woman brings peace to the family. And even the Bible said it that a woman, he that finds a wife, finds a good thing and obtains favor from God. So even the traditional people are telling us now that a woman is someone that brings blessings to the family, and that the gods are always with them, that are very close to the gods. So you don't just beat up a woman and expect to flourish, or you don't just beat up a woman and expect to thrive, because these women are very close to the gods. When we pass through childbearing, when we pass through other issues that are really connected to the women, I notice that the women are very close to the gods, so that they should not be beaten. And then if we have this type of tradition in our society as Igbos, then why is domestic violence still taking over everything in the world? We hear of these ones on social media. Then the ones we don't hear on social media, they are still there. And in this case now, it's not just related to women. What of the men? Some men are being beaten up by their wives daily. And these men, they cannot come out and speak up and say, please, my wife is beating me. They don't even have that strength to say, please, my wife is beating me. What do we now do? If the judicial system is not protecting the women, and not protecting the men, and not protecting all these individuals, whether you're a man or woman, can't we go back to our traditional means of curtailing domestic violence? Don't we still have brothers, or don't we still have family? So then, because of my interview, they keep complaining that the reason is that the way we conduct traditional marriages is no longer the same way that traditional marriages were conducted before. I experienced this. One of my husband's friends was going to get married. So he came to call his friends. He called my husband that they should escort him to go and bring a wife. My husband people, they followed the guy. And when they got to the place, the man came with only them. They were not asking him, Oga, where are your family members? Where is your father? Where are your uncles? He told them that they should ask as if they are his family. My husband said, no, I cannot be part of this. So when such issues comes up in marriage, who do you call? Do you call your sibling that was not there during your traditional marriage? Or do you call the friends that they met at the beer parlor to come and resolve such issues? Who do you call during times like this? And then there's like something we call Idris in Igbo land. You ask, please, who is this person? Where is this person from? What does his family do? Like, you keep asking questions to know the person you're getting married to. So people don't ask those questions again. So you just see them, I just met this man, and then you marry the person. Or I just met this woman, you just marry the person. You don't even know where the person is coming from. So we neglect the proper traditions that we are supposed to adhere to when performing marriage ceremony. And then you hear things like, please, the marriage is just between you and your husband. Anything that happens, just keep quiet. And then you have siblings that at least that can fight for you. As a man, you speak up. As a woman, you speak up. So that if we can adhere to this domestic ego so, and every man you are paying, as you're paying the bride price, you are paying and you're saying, please, I will not beat my wife. Any that I beat my wife, people should come and beat me. Or you as a woman, they are coming to pay a bride price. They are please and tell them, please, any that I beat my husband, people should come and beat me. We will reduce the cases of death. And someone cannot just say, maybe I will look for a way to run out from the judicial system. If it is not really stopping these things, at least we should start from the family. Let's start from that base to see if we can curtail the number of domestic violence issues that we are having now. So this paper is just advocating for us to go back, that even though we are in a modern society, people are already talking about the things that happened in the past, or the traditional means of the traditional traditions and culture in Igbo land, that even though that people are already talking about it, that there are still parts of this traditional cultures and traditions that are good and that could favor us, even in this time of modernization. So that's what this ego is advocating for. And it's still on in some parts of Igbo land, like Nri, and some other communities in Anambra. So if other parts of Igbo land will still look into these areas and cultivate this ego stupidly, maybe things will be better, at least because we're no longer fighting it at that level. We're not fighting it from the family, from the roots, and everybody's knowing you should not do this, you should not do that, or you should not even do that to people that are helping you, your domestic helps and other things. Thank you.
Thank you. Amazing and wonderful presentation. Able to should not just Igbo land for the whole of Africa, like every woman, because it's very important. Domestic violence is not something one should keep quiet to. A lot of women have died, and so many stories, even men as well, like you said, have been affected. And most times they even live in silence. Nothing is happening just because they want to have their home together. They don't want to have any form of divorce. But then you can't die in silence. So it's very important and timely that we are discussing this. We'll move over to the next presenter. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Our presenter is paper titled Gender and Marriage in Post-Colonial Africa. Lessons from Nigeria and South Africa. So I've structured my paper in abstract introduction to the concept of marriage. But before going into the topic in proper, we have to look at the concept of marriage, what marriage means in the past and in the contemporary times. Then I'll be looking at gender and marriage in the pre-colonial era, gender and marriage in the colonial era, gender and marriage in post-colonial era, then before concluding. So for my abstract, I said that from time to time, the definition of marriage has changed from what it used to be. And unlike in the past, where we all know that we generally define marriage as the union between a man and a woman for the purpose of giving birth to a child. And one thing about African culture is that they believe that the end result of marriage is giving birth to children or giving birth to a child. The moment the marriage does not yield to children, they believe that the marriage is futile. However, unlike in the past, the definition of marriage has changed because we believe that in a marriage, there's a particular role that has been attached to the man. They believe that the man is the head of the family and is the administrator of his household. And as the head of the family, he should be able to provide for the needs of the family and to secure them. But with the situation in Nigeria and South Africa and Africa as a whole, let me say as Africa as a whole, the definition of marriage, the definition of gender, the role performed by gender in marriage has changed from the immemorial time. Now, in discussing this paper, in exploring this paper, I adopted the method of, I adopted historical method, thematic method, and as well analyzing my sources using the primary sources and the secondary sources, mostly of secondary sources. So now, let me go to the conceptual definition of marriage, the concept of marriage. According to Pierre Gelly, marriage culturally is the joining together of a woman, man, as wife and husband for the sake of procreation, or what we say, giving birth to a child, like I said earlier. But like I said, we have economic perspective of marriage. Marriage is now seen as legally recognized partnership, not just between a man and a woman. It's just seen as a partnership that has to do with individuals benefiting from each other, depending on each other, managing each other. And then from another perspective, we can define marriage as a union between a man and a woman that does not only exist for the purpose of childbearing. Let me say, from my own perspective, it does not only exist for the purpose of childbearing. It exists mainly
to manage each other financially, emotionally, socially, and physically. Now, looking at gender, okay, I try to identify the problems. The problem of trying to review some existing literature, that though we have been able to have scholars writing on gender as well as marriage, but most materials on gender are mostly on gender oppression or gender equality, and those of marriage are in the of the pre-colonial period as well as the colonial period. We only have scanty materials on the post-colonial period. Having said that, let's look at the gender and marriage, the role of gender in marriage during the pre-colonial period. During the pre-colonial era, the men have a lot of responsibilities being performed in marriage. Traditionally, we believe that the man. Okay, let me take it this way. Traditionally, in the past, in the process of getting married, a certain age is being considered. They believe that for the female, you should be going to your husband's house. You should be married at the age of 18 and 17, 18. While for the men, they consider 20, 25, between 20 and 25. So anything above that for the female, they believe that you are not responsible. And they believe that you can hardly have a person to marry you, or you can as well be like a second wife or third wife. So aside the age, like the first speaker said, in the African culture, they have this, in the patriarchy, we practice patriarchy, a structure, a social structure whereby the man is seen to be superior, while the female or the woman is seen to be inferior. The man is seen to have power over the woman, and is seen to decide for the family. So the voice of the female or the woman doesn't count in marriage. She doesn't have decision to take in a marriage. Aside that, in the process of getting married, the woman in question doesn't even know. Sometimes she doesn't have the consent to marry a particular man. She's only being forced. She's being forced to marry a man by her parents. Then it was a period whereby whatever the parent tells the daughter, that is what they were to adhere to. And in the northern part, there were cases whereby women were being abducted or kidnapped, but that was done with the consent of the father or the family, the bride's family. And aside that, we also have the fact that women were never allowed to own properties. Even some that were allowed to own properties, they never have that stand in their house. They never have the power to command or to take decision in their house. So the most of the responsibilities were of the male. The women were only saddled with the responsibility of taking care of their children. They saw them as house managers, taking care of the children, cooking, or preparing the meal for the family, and training the children while they grow up. But another vital thing, we have polygamy. During the pre-colonial period, the male have this opportunity of marrying more than one wife, unlike the female, who doesn't have such opportunity. And even in the process of marrying more than one wife, he can as well set aside the first wife and then give all it takes to satisfy the second wife. Whereas in such a situation, the woman is being silenced and have no choice. Okay. Then as time goes on, with the introduction of colonialism, we have Western education we have Western education playing a vital role in marriage. though the role of the women were still limited during the colonial period, but they were allowed to labor within the home as spouses and mothers, fulfilling their customary responsibilities of raising children and providing care. Colonialism led to businesses and creation of jobs that were predominantly performed by men. Just like we have the transformation within other African institutions, the marriage system was also affected. It was also affected. Women had the opportunity of involving in Western jobs, but yet they were still underrepresented. They still do not have a force or a kind of power to make decisions in their own marriage. At the same time, we have polygamy still playing its role in marriage. But in the post-colonial period, we have numerous transformations. We have numerous transformation being ushered in by gender. Traditionally, we know that gender have shaped the duties and responsibilities assigned to men and women in marital relationship. As we all know that the male were seen as the breadwinners or are seen as the breadwinners and head of the household, who has the responsibility of caring for the children, providing for the children. But in the contemporary time now, we now have a kind of shift. The role of the husband is now being performed in some situations by the wife. For instance, as a result of the economic downturn, as a result of the poor economic condition in Nigeria, whereby you have a man having a low-paid job and a woman have been in a higher position in the workforce, getting a high or well-paid in a workplace. In such a situation, most of the provisions are being provided by the female, while the husband is just there like a camouflage. In some houses, the husband is there. Let me just say, in some houses, some women has accepted their fate that just let us see you as a husband. Let them know that I have a husband. Something like that. So they are the one performing most of the roles that is supposed to be performed by the husband. And aside that, we now have the kind of, in some marriage, or let me say in some homes, the couples do usually have a kind of agreement that there is no sharing of responsibilities. We are there for each other. We are there to assist each other. We are there to bear each other's burden. So while the mother is cooking, the husband is bathing the children, busy preparing them for schools. Unlike in the past, that the husband only feels that his own work is to go to the farm or to go to job and come back home to eat and provide for the family, whatsoever that has to do with funds. Let me say provide funds. So, but in the post-colonial period, there has been a change whereby there is no kind of a particular responsibility that's been attached to the man. They now share the responsibilities together. We even have men cooking in the kitchen for their wives, and in some cases for their children. Aside that, we have with the introduction of the same-sex reform. Let me say the legalizing of the same-sex marriage. For instance, in South Africa, it was legalized in 2006, but it was recognized in 2007. So with that, we started having women marrying women, woman marrying woman, men marrying men, what we call gay and lesbianism. But in such kind of marriage, and that was why I defined earlier that they now define marriage as not just the union between a man and a woman. They see it as a kind of partnership union, a kind of partnership that has to do with performing duties and responsibilities. So in such a situation where you have the same sex couple or marriage, the function of a man is now being performed by a female. You have the female husband and the wife. So the female husband now performs the function of a man in the house, playing you can see the role of gender changing in that kind of a situation. And in the same vein, talking about the men, we have let me say we have transgender. We have men acting like women in such a situation as let me say, would I call it a man being a wife in the house. Such person we have to cook in the house, though they may not be able to conceive, but with the globalization and civilization, we have surrogacy whereby they can easily they can easily give birth to child or adopt children. And in the process of doing that, they also have to cater for the children without even involving a female in the house. So in such a situation, we have a kind of a change of gender role in marriage. We have a kind of change in gender role in marriage. Let me conclude by saying that in order not to waste our time, so I said the functions of men and women in marriage, as well as the roles played by the couples, have changed from what it used to be in the memorial in the contemporary period. The increase in dual income families, the sharing of household duties. In fact, you see, after marriage, some couples have divided the responsibility that as the husband, I'll be the one to be doing this, as the wife, you'll be the one to be doing that. They see it as a responsibility. And the power dynamics relationship, I forgot to mention one. In the post-colonial period now, women now have a say. They now have a say in their marriage. It is no longer the husband that dictates for the family. Whatsoever whatsoever plan they have for the family is now being discussed, being agreed by the husband and the wife. So we have with Western culture. So I think with all these have triggered the emergence of some gender transformations in marriage in the post-colonial times. And because men could not take advantage of these chances alone, more and more women entered the formal labor market and began to compete with men, even within their homes. In the marriage, they began to compete. You see competition between the husband and the wife. So by so doing, the role of gender in marriage is not static, but dynamic, as we are moving towards an equal partnership and swapping of roles completely in marriage.
Thank you. Okay, very nice. You were able to relate to 21st century African marriage, that although things are before, it's all about the man getting married or married the woman, and like in your slide, I saw baby factory or baby making something. So, but now in post-colonial, it's things are not changing. The woman can take up any responsibility. The man can, okay, why you do this, I do that. So it's flexible now, and then you also try to bring up the issue of the same-sex marriage, and also it's a very good transition process in African marriage. And okay, I don't know. Are you guys with us? I know you guys have questions and comments. Then I would like us to hear from Dr. Ngozi Obi and Fred before we now to our questions. Doc, please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, the presenters. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you, the presenters. I enjoyed the presentation, and the only when the first two were presenting, my mind was going on because on this bride price, because I think we got like 3 papers who are the presenters are I don't know to call them. Their research, the way I see their research, tends to tilt towards a bride price. And then my own personal belief doesn't really matter. Those people that don't really fancy the bride price issue stuff. I don't. There are certain issues why I argue against the bride price, and then one of them is that, let me use a lived experience. There was a day we were in our board meeting. A professor who happens to be a woman, an international scholar that I know that at least I know that she's good in her own way. She's doing what she's very well internationally recognized. But because of issues in the department, a professor also in the department used certain words I felt was derogatory by referring to her. Imagine nwanyị m ga-eji ego m alụta dose n'ụlọ. For those that cannot understand Igbo, what I mean is that the professor was referring to this woman who I knew has published well, very well known, even better than the other person, that referring her as a woman, using that means the bride price issue. So the bride price, this is a woman who is doing well in her own right, as in when I know I will rate the woman #1, but because she's a woman, the way she was talked to. So when there was a research that has taken myself and the Mesoma for many, many years, I'm trying to see if the book will be produced. You will find out that in most of our interviews, you find people, when I ask men why are certain traditions against the women, and they will tell me that it is so because they pay the bride price. So for me, I don't believe that bride price a kind of brings a woman on the same equal space with the man. Because if even bride price for me sometimes silences a woman. Because you find out that in the garden, there are certain things, let me use my own cultural context as an example. There are certain things a woman cannot do because of the bride price. A woman cannot break kola nuts because of bride price. There are certain discussions that will happen among the women that the woman will not call. Woman will not be allowed to even. If it places a woman, why is it that when a man dies, is no longer in the home? Why can't the woman collect the bride price of her children? It doesn't happen. Many things. So for me, the bride price is a kind of suffocating to a woman. It doesn't bring his full potential. So my question is, especially to the first presenter, is whether your paper, are you in support of this continual payment of bride price? Are you in support of this continual payment of bride price? And Adako, are you arguing that we should all pay bride price in order to end domestic violence? Are you arguing that we have to keep paying bride price in order to end domestic violence? For instance, the case of Osinachi you used, does it mean that the husband actually paid the bride price and he ended up killing him? It doesn't matter. The bride price for me, it may have worked when it worked. But what I'm taking your paper because you are writing it, you try to put this thing out there. This is what happens before. But contemporarily, does that stop people from beating up their wives? Because the brothers of the woman will come back and beat up the man. Does it? So when I look at it, I have read scholars who they've argued, scholars have used their work, they've argued against this payment of bride price. Because bride price, in a way, is true that it is argued that it gives a woman social status because it is because of the way the people have structured it, that when they don't pay this bride price, you don't have respect in your husband's family. You don't have respect in your husband's family. So if not because of the cultural construct of bride price for me, I'm feeling that the bride price for me has its own way of dehumanizing a woman by not allowing a woman to express her full potentials. Because when you look at it now, what I'm arguing also in my book is that there are certain things you find out that women, there is two categories of women in Igbo land. You have Ndiyom. I think Ndiyom means Ndiyom, those married in a particular village, and you have the Umada, the daughters. Those Umada will come to their father's community. They can do anything. They can talk, express themselves, even act as intermediaries during conflict. But you find out that even in their husband's own, where they are regarded as Ndiyom, they don't have such power. They don't have such power. If we respect them, they have power in the bed. They don't have that kind. There are certain limitations to their power. Like if I travel now, we have burial, I will go there as Sumada in my community. The Ndiyom, they cook for us. There are certain things we do which they cannot do. So does it really means they are fully accepted in the community because of they are being married? I may be wrong, but this is part of how I view some of these issues of a bride price. And my question is, how do you situate both of your researches in the global debate or African feminist debate on bride wealth, bride price, bride service, or lobola, as they call it in Southern Africa? Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I want to say that let's not throw the baby with the bathwater in this issue of bride price. Africans, we are patriarchal, as we know we are. So most of these practices that are actually put up by the men. I will take where I come from as an instance. The bride price for where I come from I don't think it's really nothing of consequence. If we are talking, I don't think it's more up to 20,000. But because of the society which we are in, the patriarchy in the society, they will use even that amount, use other things to bring the woman down. So it is not necessarily the amount. It's just like a social bond between two families who come around. And then you say, okay, with this thing that has happened, we recognize you. Like in Igbo land, a lady cannot go and have a child outside, or rather have a baby. And then if the man hasn't paid her bride price, that child is for her family and not the man's family. So these are the things we should look at. That's why I say we shouldn't throw the baby with the bathwater. Except if we say, okay, we want to throw away bride price. But that means that we could be looking at, okay, let us act like the way we don't do Ijuasi. We don't do so many other things, which are already things which help the Igbo setting, that you understand, help these people. So I don't see anything wrong with bride price. I feel it is the way we take it as a society, the patriarchy within us. If we can throw away patriarchy altogether, I think bride price too can also be thrown away. But well, I think patriarchy is embedded, bride price is embedded inside patriarchy, not bride price on its own.
No, she can respond to it. Yeah, they will respond to
it. Thank you, ma, for your question, ma. In this case, I think the ego entity is not the bride price. The ego entity is a different money that's being paid by the man, like as a kind of consent. Yeah, you're consent to you won't beat your wife, or you won't maltreat your wife. So I just think that the ego is in favor of women. they pay it differently from bride price, and the price is usually 1,000 naira. So it's different from the bride price. Just like telling them, please, oh, you are giving me your sister. Like it's the last thing that is done during traditional marriage. They call you and they tell you, we are handing over our sister to you. We don't want you to harm our sister. We don't want to do anything bad to our sister. So that any day any of such happens, that they will come on and fight for their sister. That's just what the ego otisopeli means. So I brought in Osinachi because during her death, that was when the king of Hungary came out to speak that that the science does not respect women again. That though we talk of Igbo traditional culture, that Nri and as part of Igbo land respects women, that they don't beat women. That was when he emphasized on this issue of Igbo Otisopeli, that even though that yes, the man is the head of the family, that you don't beat women, and that is why that money you give to the girl's family is just giving them to tell them, please, so I'm promising not to beat your sister. I'm promising not to do anything bad to your stepmother. Any day I try any of such, you have the right to do anything to me. So I just think that this ego really favors women, and it's not paid together with the bride price. It's paid differently, and it's the last thing that is actually done after the traditional marriage.
Okay, so adding to what they said about bride price, I think if we should review bride price, we should, like the African marriage institution should also review marriage fees, because most times bride price might not even be the issue for them, but then marriage fees, like sorry, some Igbo as called them. Like imagine when a man would pay a lot of money to get married to a woman, so he will not feel like he can do anything he wants to do with that woman. Sure, there will be fees and everything. If they have the mind to pay for everything on that list, they will have the mind to do anything they want to that woman. And for the ego otisopeli, like you mentioned, it's a good idea. But I feel like there are exceptions for men that are well-to-do. No. Like when the man is well-to-do and takes care of the in-laws well, he can do anything. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know how the culture runs, but I feel it can be okay. Well,
that's why they're arguing that person should speak up. If by the time you pay that, once you pay that money, okay, that money means I've committed. So even if you paid everything you want to pay, like the rich, and you bought houses for them, okay, and after doing all those things, they'll come and tell you that there is one thing that you must do, and that is to promise that you won't beat their daughter.
That's fine. Let's just keep the questions from. Okay, we'll take from this side. So, and please, and the response to the question. Can she get also?
Can she hear me? The way you take it. Okay, all right, thank you. My name is Frances. I'm an African agency. I'm very interested in both the bride price and what I told you about the last week I said pre-colonial marriages. So I have a question and an observation. So my question for you is, what context are you talking about pre-colonial marriages? Because where I come from, my master's thesis was based on ecofeminism, the place of women and nature in the Igbo society. Where I come from and for the access I used for my ethnographic study for that person, women are valued so much in the Igbo society. Women have economic values. They farm. They don't have female crops and male crops. For instance, cocoa is the male crops. So when you go to the marketplace in pre-colonial Nigeria, pre-colonial society, most of those sellers are women, and that's economic value. So they are not necessarily relegated to the home, taking care of the home. So that's a form of error. That's why I like to get the context of the place you're talking about. But there are also places like Ohafia, instead a place like Ohafia, those ones are matriarchal and matrilineal in nature. So if you're from Ohafia, your children inherit from you, nothing for the men. That's how it is there. So that's why I want to put the context to that. Then to the issue of right price. If we're saying we should remove bride price, I would like us to look at it like this. It's like telling married people to remove their wedding bands. So where we come from, we don't wear rings. Our couples don't wear rings. traditional. Yes. The more people don't get it. What shows that you are a couple is that this woman has taken her out of that she has taken the wine from her father. So a man she has consented to marry. That's her part of the vow. The man's part of the vow is the bride price he gives, which in my case is less than 500 naira.
Yes.
And most times, it's giving back to I've been privileged to stay with old people. I met my great grandparents and my grandparents are still alive. So they most times they give it back to you. But I met my great grandfather and my grandfather said to me during marriage that one is you don't touch our daughters. Then my grandfather has practical, my maternal grandfather has practically gone to from Akwa, gone to Mobo and picked his daughter who was being beaten up. And she had 4 children, 3 of them died, only one thing. So he picked the daughter and took them out. So the question here is what then replace the bride price? What then should be the total symbol of marriage?
Yes.
The direction of how to make our traditional marriages legalized. Are we looking at having the government give us? Because what makes it different from marriages? The paper you get that the world recognizes. Are we looking at giving this paper to traditional marriage? So you don't have to go through traditional marriage, white wedding, court marriage, and all the drama. Let's have it. Thank you. And everything is all here.
Not exactly not exactly a question, but just a comment that it's based on response to people, and I'm just looking at it. I feel that it's working for the situation. I think it's working. Why do I say that? When you listen to stories of domestic violence, you see that all of the enabling factors of domestic violence is you feel suffocated and there's no reprisal. But most times when there's a reprisal, it means I'm as strong as you are. Or am I even be stronger than you are? So I feel that it is something that is possible. It's working in this contemporary time. But the question is, how can it be enforced? And I think that is where it's important to work with alongside the customary forms. Make it somehow legal, but let it still not lose its cultural nuance. So that people understand that, okay, you know what? As much as this bride price looks like we are getting somebody's child home, as though it looks like we have brought her away from her family. She's not entirely away from her family. The 30 years, the 20 years she's been on that, she's been groomed by somebody, she was first cultured by somebody. And for me, I mean that's my own yeah, I understand. Thank you very much. So just the relation does that, okay? The first and if you centralize yes. If you really want to go to the village of one house, you do like something. You actually need to out of the right person that society. Oh, yes. Let's do that. Well, South Africa, Britain, Ethiopia, Ghana, bro, centralize it. This is how brand price is seen in this past of yes. Then the second I don't even feel like I don't know, you said focus on secondary sources.
No, I'm not misquoting. I said I made use of few primary sources and most more secondary sources.
I want to explain that research. So how can you explain something when you are in quantitative for that to have said? Maybe I see perspective now. I was thinking that after the marketing for the like you actually must learn to be some people that becomes your primary source. You be someone moving to the table, rather than focusing on others for second, many people see. Then you share this issue of bride people that is it ordinary or ordinary? It depends on the pay something now, ordinary, they believe that the God and actually get this results. was bride price fund. It's like a group of men coming together to come and yes. So this issue, because I was teaching a students in NCI last 2 weeks ago, and I was asking them, I said, don't read, what problem? So one of them said something that I've never heard and I've never experienced. She said she can't read because whenever she serves her husband in murder, she's expected to sit outside the initial which year. And I said, you are in the yes. Especially outside the way and she said she can't stand. Because something to do. She said, yes, it is their culture. I'm like, these men are wicked. Then you know that makes stuff. Yes. So asking this issue of bride price, what man or women it actually Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's what is chair? I like the question because she said, how do you reconcile your research with, feminist ideologies, what's going on now? And I'm sorry, but this conversation about right practice because we are still because you don't be one price next in Nigeria. About another country. Yeah, you can do body Nigeria, not that. Because only I always have this argument compare with that. We have never seen as two autonomous individuals. They are seen as something that exists for like a certain year, like a certain number of years under this person, and then they write under that person. We're not seen to exist as ourselves. Because each when we now find still lost identity. I know someone that was in school, her name was Olomachi Njoko. And then tomorrow I'm still at school is done with that. What happened to the person that you need to do and you're about to tell that person? So we go through life living different lives or living certain people men. So that's like she was about right friends. You are still as someone by giving a price to value. The term is known is a fundamental condition. I know practice ask, okay, so what should be placed right time? What should have been practice? What can we all come together? Come to your father and say, oh, I love this person, I want to meet with this person, I want to meet you drink your wine, your palm wine, and then we all go. Like, you have a price. I know that all looking for everybody in the world exists in all systems. So just tell them and push people with those. That the whole way, if that system is handled, because nothing needs to replace us. There is no vacuum. No vacuum is created. I just argue that, oh, this is symbolic. No. We've seen how the symbolism, we've seen how it has been taken. And it has, propagated more harm than good. So why? If you cannot respect me on the account that I'm a human being, why do we need to pay some things? That's the challenge is make an evaluation. We can go on that.
Okay, I think you guys have forgotten about me. I like the conversation. I like the conversation going on there. And thank you, the last speaker. It seems you know what I've been thinking about this bride price. That that thing could, even if it's a kobo, it should be do away with. Because the monetary value, no matter how small, doesn't matter. What matters is what the men attached to that name of bride price is what they attach to that, and that is also does not place women equal to the men, even though some women are doing even far better than the man. But a kind of they still look down on you because you're a woman and they've paid the bride price. And like the issue of somebody, A man leaves his father's house and comes to your father's house to pick you. Professor Uchem, I like her. She's a reverend sister. I've read her work very well. I've used her work to teach. I've used her work copiously in some of my unpublished work now. The day I attended her workshop, she's maintained, because their father died so early. None of you one idea to help the poor mother to train them. And finally, when it was time to marry the sisters, they all appeared. So each time, nobody paid the bride price on any of the sisters. She refused. She's an Igbo, from Igbo. She refused. And again, the man that came to the sister was the one giving wine to look for the sister, because he came to their family house. It's in Igbo land. It happened. She said that the man, so that thing should be do away with. The man is the one that came to marry you from your. It's not peculiar to us. In Asia, it is even worse in Asia. In some of Asian countries, why you see a woman is the one paying the bride price for the man. And it doesn't guarantee your rights, even in your husband's family. Your husband determines how you spend money. He determines how some of these women in Muslim community, how they do this zakat, they give people. They're the ones that will determine it. So I agree with you that this thing should this word bride price, bride wealth, bride service, dowry, whatever name it is called, there are other things like the palm wine and the kola nut that people exchange. Is a communion between the living of the various families and even the dead. Is enough covenant to seal the marriage. Not that money they pay, not that small money they bring, and they call it bride price. And when you talk in your husband's village, they will tell you, no, why had they go lota? Why had lota? And the money is not even equal to the person's crutch. The school fees you paid in the person's crèche. I know how much I'm paying for my daughter here in crèche. And tomorrow, once somebody will come over and tell me that they paid the bride price for my daughter. So I think that we women who are researching on women, on gender, should be an advocate of this. That stamp, that bride price, there are other things to seal marriage outside that so-called money that has been suppressing women over the years. That's my personal opinion about it.
Thank you so much for that, Ma. We really appreciate that. Okay, we'll move over to quick comments. Yes, I agree with that point and happening about the culture doesn't change when they go to it. And people culture people culture. Also, I also wanted to react to that. I think she that's the job. Emphasizing the fact that women are setting the place of power that men did not face. Women constitute don't start the same areas in African culture, while men have the leadership. Women have power to leadership. And last year, I also wanted to say that she had mentioned, thank you for mentioning that, most because of marriage, we see in contemporary Africa or contemporary society, we see more people, getting into partnerships. You mentioned for finance, and I just also want I think also about emotions. Emotional people are not aware. People are not aware that the people that they are married, whether male or female, but even in the same time marriage, we notice that one is more emotional. There's emotion. In fact, in the working now, you have the involving of emotional abuse. Funny, that is the thing. There was nothing like emotional abuse of the first You understand? So people are more in tune. So, like the friend, his wife had serious trouble giving birth. And that 3 boys now, 2 instead of 3 they are the same. Now, she had serious problems and went for years. And all the top of his head, I saw him recently, and the person he says to me is, oh, they had children by soon of it. And I was like, can you talk me down how I people a confident man in his chest? He's just he's that school, very cultural. So, and then he mentioned that his wife almost died. When he said that for me, I told myself I'm very proud of it. Like, and he didn't want to talk. And I was like back in the day, African culture, we look up, men look for alternative immediately. I see that as unfixed. But now, because of how it was, the Me Too movement, I matter, you matter, mental health awareness, women also rising up in terms of realizing that they are people.
as well. And then you see that emotion, people marry, some people just marry for money, just for emotional. I make mention of that with definition. Okay, so let's say just observation of all the something to make Islam to members. Alright, so please. According to the second try as much as possible to narrow down your goal. Saying African marriage is like so strong and you don't know which is the bad case. So you have to know you have to with Igbo or the Yoruba or this one particular country, maybe South Africa, maybe South Africa. So things like that. I just want to commend all the students, they really did well. Then this echo continuously, she said something that okay, what of the doesn't beat you. You pay the money, the money doesn't see because sometimes we don't beat the person, but you are abusing the person emotionally and without giving the person food.
I mentioned it.
So we need to use that money to buy things. I have to use the money to buy things. To come out from transport. Okay, from transport.
So I mentioned right now. I mentioned that I do develop school like this. It could be emotional accident, it could be economic accident, it could be I mentioned another kind of accident that it's not just physical, not just like anything accident and the factors and said, okay, let's move to the
Okay, so I find it's just because I have questions about this balance of time.
Okay.
My first question is for you, about so my question is that what impact was the Wi-Fi on gender and expectations of being in mind, especially on the aspect of human being creation. So there is this human being you must not be a bad person, mind me of the bridge. So what will I want expectation, especially on the house. So the second speak about domestic violence. So my question is that out of the experience of domestic violence in international use space, compared to that with our cultures or global context, or are they similar to the one in global and also
domestic violence.
So those are my questions.
Okay. Let's see.
Thank you. I just want to make few points. And concerning not showing the video, I think what we need is a kind of evaluation. So even if you pay or you don't pay, the man that will abuse the man still abuse the child. So we should begin to evaluate our generally. And then I want us to look at the impact of westernization, the impact of Western religion and marriage. For instance, in some places in Yoruba where I come from, some people don't collect bride price. They tell you that their daughter is not like me. My husband did not collect bride price for me, and my church felt like this because the Bible says it is your right to take it. So there's not the argument that it is your right to take it. There are some people that are now arguing that. So we should look at the impact of Western religion, even when we try to blur the lines in our country of that. What is the impact of Western religion? We have lost our identity. We are arguing for our culture. We are still belong to it. And then the third one is about the argument of women not taking up roles and all of that. We should not see it as victory for the woman. I think marriage is relational, and if you bring in the moral relational theory like that, it will help you in that area to find the basis of that new development. Marriage should be relational, it should not be a master-slave relationship. So we should not see that victory for us so that the table will not do, so that women are now abusing.
Okay, just some question in the
I think we have evolved a great deal in the world right now in Africa. So for that right price of business and all whatnot, how many shares we say we have when they're getting married right now? So I don't know. And that point, that's it might not work. You understand? And everybody knows the families know, every other person know that, oh, this might be a tall order. So I think it's something that has gone to the news.
Okay, so you can respond to this.
Okay, you ask different domestic violence to them. Domestic violence is domestic violence. When you treat somebody in a way that you get the person, it's violent. When you treat someone, it's violent. So why the problem is that they treat people that way and then it kills them, or you just say both and to their emotions, still domestic violence. So domestic violence for me, domestic violence.
Okay, can you bring my notes to the question?
Yes, sorry, you made mention of in talking about now. I made emphasis on something. I made mention of the fact that no matter how that I said some women get opportunity to have properties. Like in Lagos, for instance, we have people like Rabiat, we have people like Shaitan and Imran. Even in Lagos, we have Madam. But no matter how the property they want, we're still trying to be submissive to their husbands at home. So they were trying to be submissive. They were, no matter whatever happens, no matter how rich they are, their husband, the decision taken by the husband, still participates or still buying with them. So and that continued to the colonial issue. It was only when they got to the post-colonial period that they have the then in the colonial period, the period they were made to get their husbands home. But now women take the decision to continue with their own father's son, combining their own father's son along with their husbands.
Outside from the context, I make sure something I'm saying you should don't do this for what you're saying. But when you say like that, also the death is what what are so now I'm sitting in the I'm sitting in the and me, but the man is so but I understand very well amongst men.
Society. By the patriarchal society.
It was really an engaging lecture. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your opinion. Okay, let us hear it. Thank you so much for we appreciate the presence.